Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Mortgage Heroes Weekly Podcast. I'm Andy.
I'm Brian.
And today we are going to talk about this season. It is the summer season turning into the fall season, but because it's 2024, it is election season. And election season brings about a lot of headline topics, hot topics, and in particular, we're going to talk about some housing stuff today that is kind of related to that. There's definitely some bipartisan ideas that are coming to the surface as we near November, but we're going to go over a little bit of what's going on in the market in association with that and kind of how the hand-in-handedness of those things go, and go over a couple of the ideas and see what the heck we think about them.
Oh, and CoreLogic data.
And wow, right, like that at the top. He's gonna be like, oh, and also we're gonna get to the nerd part. Okay, I see how it's gonna go today. Well, let's at least give everyone some good data up front. Okay.
Now, there's actually some data that I was like, oh crap, like I was actually excited to talk about.
Yeah. So home buyers are gearing up for mortgage rates to drop in the fall. What to know as the housing market shifts. This is from Realtor.com. So Brian, this was the find that you had this week.
This is really good. Actually, I was reading through it. I was like, well, there's a lot.
First of all, it's very thorough, which I love. So this is going to be a lot of really good nuggets of sound bites here, but also just you can take this whole conversation in and of itself and really get a really good assessment of what's likely to happen this fall. So first, let's kind of set the stage. Last October, and we've talked about this a lot, last October of 2023, mortgage rates were their highest they've been in 23 years. So we saw rates starting to hit 8, even a little bit higher than that. But then that was kind of like the hand on the stove. Ooh, the market didn't like that. People didn't like that. Industry didn't like that. And the average they're quoting here for a 30-year note at the time was 7.79. And here we find ourselves a year later. Now, I'm going to say August is not October, but about a year later. And we're at an average of 6.47, which is an entire, 1.25% for the better in the last 10 months. So that's really good. Now, this has a lot to do with, I think, the negative impact that October of 2023 had on the mortgage market specifically. You saw even more slowing in housing. Affordability all of a sudden became this major conversation topic across a lot of major financial news networks and just in general. I mean, even people just talking about affordability or lack of affordability when it comes to housing. So let's talk about what this kind of means going into the fall. We're expecting mortgage rates to continue declining. It might be gradual, though. It might not be like a steep fall off of a cliff, but there could be some gradual easing of mortgage rates, which is saying they're going to go down even more, especially as Jerome Powell and the Fed have basically announced they're going to start doing rate cuts at this point. That's what we're looking at. So
I think the article did a good job by opening up and saying what will happen once mortgage rates continue to fall and what else might shift in the housing market in ways buyers might not see coming in terms of home prices, the number of homes set for sale, and beyond. So there's a lot of stuff that I actually see that is already happening, and I think obviously right off the bat, the big elephant in the room is that mortgage rates are on their decline and they're on their descent. So that's also something that I feel as we get closer to September, going into November, it's just going to get, lower and lower and lower. We're not going to see a crazy drop, but we're going to gradually see rates go from where they're at right now. And I feel like, it was like taking the elevator up and we're going to be definitely taking the stairs down.
Yeah, it was definitely elevator up and definitely taking the stairs down right now. And I think they're going to be a little measured in that. Yeah. I mean, it took us all this time from March of 2022 to get here. So what is that? 2.5 years? Yes. Almost, 2.5 years, 2 years and 6 months. So you got, or 5 months. So you got March of 2022, the Fed started marching rates up. Then you have now August of 2024, September, we're going to have them going down. So I think people need to be ready that they're not going to just overnight be 1% better. That kind of happened already. So in the case you have not been watching the show for the last couple of weeks, that already happened in the rearview mirror a couple of weeks ago. That first kind of Friday of August, mortgage rates tanked. And that was due to the whole Japanese market, for the really steep sell-off in the Japanese market, which led to a really steep sell-off in the United States markets the following day. And that actually drew down treasuries and mortgage rates as a result of that. And then that opened up a lot of opportunity for people to do the VA IRRRL, do some cash outs, lock some loans that they needed to get locked in. So expect that going into the fall, they're going to continue at the rate and pace of decline that they are at now, with probably ebbs and flows on days here and there based on some economic data, inflation, and things like that. So
I wanted to just make a point clear, in these next coming months towards, once we get to the end of the year, yes, rates are going to be dropping at a slow pace. And one of the things that, I did get a lot of calls this week was like, hey, did rates drop? What are they at? Hey, are rates drop? What are they at now? And after pricing the same scenarios that we've been, really, really closely seeing these last couple of weeks with rates, I noticed that it's not so much that rates are dropping rather than, rates are more, how do I say it, more affordable, meaning that if you were going to pay a point for that 6.5 or 6.75, you're maybe not going to pay, 75 basis points, 0.75. So that's what, what we'll start to see a lot of before we start actually seeing the rates drop. So, hey, like maybe last week it was going to be a lot more expensive to get that rate. Now it's going to be a little bit cheaper. So keep in mind that when they say rates are dropping, it's not necessarily that they're going to tank. They're dropping by 0.25%, by 0.75%, 0.5%, what it might be. It's actually getting just more cheaper for you to be able to get that rate or obtain the lowest rate at that point.
Yeah, so if you are currently in a position where maybe your discount points are very high, then your discount points might be a little bit less. Yes. I personally I was passing Tanya's desk the other day, and I said, hey, by the way, how many loans did you lock this way? This was on Wednesday the 21st.
Yeah.
And I was saying, hey, how many loans did you lock today? Because the market was better. It was more favorable, meaning rates were lower for the day. And she said she locked 4.
Yeah.
So that was just on that day. And then immediately last Thursday, then what happened was the rates came back up that following day. So we were kind of like watching it, and I saw some people saying, hey, you should probably float. And I was like, listen, I don't really feel comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Because you knew you had Jerome Powell coming out on Friday. So it was like Wednesday, I was saying lock. Thursday, the other people were saying float. And then Friday, boom, mortgage rates. So we did have a little bit of roller coaster that the last couple of days of last week as well. But the point here is that we've been saying this till we're blue in the face, that people who are prepared, that are getting themselves started, that are ready to pounce when there's time is right to pounce, they're actually getting this loan lock. So some of these that we've talked about in previous shows, like refinance examples you've been giving, ones that Memo's been giving too, where people were saving hundreds or in some case $1,200 a month in that VA one, paying off debt, like you got to be ready. And this 4 loan locks in that one day is exactly why I keep saying that.
And it's almost as important as, if you see that rates are dropping or you're starting to hear, if you wait till, hey, the rates drop, by the time you get approved, you get, out shopping, maybe 2 to 3 weeks already passing that process from you getting pre-approved, shopping, going out and seeing houses. And in that time, rates could have gone up already. So I really advise that if you already know and you've been hearing and you believe that rates are going to start coming down and you're going to have a lower rate in the months to come, start now. Gather your documents, gather your paperwork, and start making those appointments to really see where you're at, because maybe not this month, but next month could be a different story for you, but at least you have a sense of an idea of where you stand, where you're going, so that when the time does come, you could quickly hit your loan officer up, hey, I'm ready to go. You got my documents. Here's my updated stuff. And now you can move quickly rather than taking a little bit more time, and that could eat up, very, very precious time in the market.
And that's the theme that's going to come up kind of a couple other times during this show today, because the other topics we're going to talk about. But that being prepared is why I'm making a hard, long pit stop at this topic right now. Rates are going in the direction we want them to go. The Fed has seen what they need to see with inflation. They're going to start easing up on the Fed side of interest rates, on the central bank side. This does not mean that all of a sudden housing becomes more affordable. It might mean that more people are now back in the game that have been out of the game since October of last year. Now, if affordability is back for those folks, now you're competing against them too. So beware of that. It also does not mean that people who are homeowners are going to just now take less than what they might have. Yeah. They're going to maybe hold their position, because now if affordability is easing up, they know they're going to get potentially some more offers.
And I don't want to sound negative and say, it's going to be more difficult, but just be braced for more competition.
That's what I'm saying. It's going to be stiff competition, because it is. When more people can come back and bid on homes, and they do, then you're going to be competing against those same people.
And on the positive side, I do believe that this will ease up a little bit more inventory as well, because the people that are stuck, at that low rate finally might be at the tier where they're saying, hey, you know what, this is my time. It's time to go. Let's go ahead.
And one of the things that they're talking about here in this article is that, home buyers, and we're already on this, is that home buyers may have to put in some more offers. I mean, it may not just be the first or second home you see. You may have to go see a couple more. You may actually have to make a couple offers, do some counter offers, and then go to bid with some other people to get your deal accepted.
Right now, we have a handful of clients, and I'm advising them, if you see a house that you love, make an offer in it and keep about your day. Keep going and seeing other houses, because it might take a few days, few weeks for them to actually reply back to us, because I see right now a lot of people are playing the field like we have offers out, but they're not really quick to accept an offer. They're really just seeing what's coming in. We had a few offers on a house from 2 weeks ago that they're still accepting offers. So the market is really just wanting to see what's going to happen, what's going to be out there. And if you love a house, chances are somebody else does too.
Yeah, that's and I think that we're saying this more like a forewarning, not as negativity, but hey, look, like we're already in these situations with people, and we're already walking them through that real life experience. So if you're looking to buy a house in the fall too, these things are working in your favor, but also it's going to work in the favor of others as well. So there's one thing I need to make a pit stop here and ask you what you think about this. It's that lower rates could help unleash more homes in the market. Yeah. Basically an inventory comment. Now here's my problem is typically when rates go up and they're higher, more inventory shows up. And now we're saying that now lower rates could also still bring more inventory, which kind of begs the question, well, which one is it? Which one brings more inventory, Brian? Lower rates or higher rates? What do you think?
So that's a difficult question because it's a little bit of both, and it's for a small period of time. Lower rates attract more. As soon as they have those opportunities come up, the people that get that inventory gobble it all up, and then we're back in the same place of, hey, no inventory, low rates, and then we go through a cycle again, 2-3 months, and then the inventory opens up again, and then we go back. So I think it's like a teeter-tot where you're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Yeah. So it really just depends on the time and the date that you actually enter the market, because it could be on an uptick, a downtick, or just, a relatively just, a sideways pattern. And I think that's why it's very important just constantly be on your feet and be ready because of how quickly things are shifting and moving from one day to another. We could see a lot change, let alone a week to another. That's could be a huge change of things.
So even in the lifespan of your career here, where it is true that higher rates usually bring inventory, now it's also that lower rates can bring more inventory too. And I think the thing that changed was the golden handcuffs.
Yeah, so that's definitely it.
When I step back and go, okay, I have all these years of experience and all these things that we've seen, I think it has to do with the golden handcuffs, because people are like, well, yeah, I'm not going to sell because I'm at a really, really good rate and I don't have to move. So yeah, my house might be worth a lot more now, but I also am going to just I'm going to like settle in and hunker down. But on the alternative now, you see people, rates are going down and I've been wanting to move. Well, now I'm going to sell my place. I'm going to go do it.
So I think it's going to be in tiers. It's going to be in tiers. There's going to be the people that are like, okay, now it's time for me to move. Okay, now it's really time for me to move. Or hey, like finally it's at a level where, it just makes sense for me to move. Like, high level of needs to basically wants is what I feel like it's going to be like. People that need to move, people that are in the middle, and then just at the end want to move.
So that couples with kind of the next thing that they mentioned here, which is that like people who are already pre-approved, but maybe we're sidelined by high rates. They're going to be waking up. They're kind of dusting off their file, submitting some new documentation, updated pay stubs, update their credit report, update their bank statements. I mean, let's just be honest about it. People that are prepared and looking to buy are coming back off the shelf and they are getting back on the field. I know that we're seeing this. It's also being mentioned in the article. I mean, we're kind of a living example of that. But it's not just the article. It's that we're seeing this firsthand.
Yeah, and I mean, just with going into the the later months of this year, we got the presidency change, anticipated rate drops. I think it's going to bring a good runway for all the people that were on the fence or not knowing what they wanted to do. I think these two things are going to really kind of like put some momentum into the market. And some people are going to be like, hey, it's my turn to jump into the market. Other people are going to still wait till the market crashes, which by the data, I don't know when that's going to be, but I think it's going to be a healthy and active fall and winter. And
something I think is really important for everyone watching this to hear is this part: is how fast a buyer needs to act. All comes down to the location. We're here in Chula Vista in San Diego County and Southern California, and there's certainly more competition here than there might be in the place that you're sitting watching this show. But the point is to know.
I have a huge butt too.
You have a huge butt. Do you have one for the point or just a huge butt?
Both.
The point I'm trying to make here is be familiar in your own market that you're looking to buy in. So if you need to make a real estate move and we're saying, hey, be prepared, act quick, be on your toes, be nimble, da-da-da. Well, that might not be as true for you as it has to be for people here in San Diego. Know your local market, talk to local experts, and figure out what it is you need to what you need to do, and at the speed at which you need to.
Yeah, and then my huge but was that although rates are going to be coming down, it's going to bring a lot more affordability, but there's still not much inventory to be able to, withhold that demand. So as much as it's a positive thing, in some ways, it's also counterintuitive because it is going to bring more offers to an already saturated market, and depending on the area they're at. Here in San Diego, we're still very heavily seeing offers for properties, multiple offers, bidding wars, and things are still continuing to go high. So I think that's going to be met with the wall stop because of the fact that there is going to be an influx of a lot of people that are back in the market and now can reafford, but they're going to be met with the hard stop of, hey, well, where's the houses for this, for this demand?
Yeah.
And we're going to go right back to that.
And I think that's part of the psychological shift that's happening too, because some people are willing to just trade the frustration of having to look for a home still. If I'm fine, I'll just eat the higher mortgage rate than the 3% my friend got 2 years ago. Well, whatever. I'm at 6.5, 6.75. Fine, I'll just eat that now. That's the whole marry the home, date the rate thing. Like, people are just frustrated. Like, oh, fine, I'm just going to get in. I just need to get in, and they'll deal with this thing later.
And because at what point does the rate become less important than the price if we know that one's coming down and the other?
Not just the price, owning or not owning.
Yeah.
Like, that's really what we're talking about. The price is kind of another ancillary part. Not an ancillary. It's an important part. I get it. Don't argue with me in the argument, in the comments about it. The rate is not going to should not prevent you wanting to buy a house or not. The rate's going to be the rate at the time you get it. But what we're really talking about is some people, it's become an impediment to being a homeowner.
Yeah.
And that sucks because I don't like that. I don't want that for people. I want more people to get into affordable housing. We lack affordable housing inventory, but also, like, don't let the rate stop you from owning a home. And it might mathematically be doing that, but don't let that kill your will. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Like, don't let that kill your spirit and your endeavor to pursue being a homeowner.
Yeah, and it just sucks because it's like you'll take a 27% credit card, but
Well, right, but dude, okay, let's be fair. You're not comparing apples to apples in that situation.
Okay, but then they exactly the same. They do that when we do HELOCs, though.
I know, but it's not a $500,000 credit card, bro. You're talking about like a $10,000 card, maybe at 27%. And unfortunately, for some people right now, they're taking it because they got to pay bills and they're buying groceries and putting gas in their car and stuff like that. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying I know that it's happening, bro.
I'm gonna just heat up the comments. Hope somebody says something. Dude. Or you could put it all under a 6% on your mortgage and cash out.
That's true. Okay. You know what? All the comments.
Let me know in the comments, please. Like, I just want to know.
Brian will be doing. Brian will do all the replies this week. You can handle all the heat and all the rebuttals that are going to come from that one. I wanted to end. So
I got a few more of those.
I wanted to end with this though, because this is kind of like the summary point of the article is if you see a home you want to get, don't wait. So be ready and pounce on it. So if you see a place you like, it's likely you said already, Brian, someone else probably already likes that house too. And the advocacy here is if you see a place you like, you're financially ready, you want to be a homeowner, go make an offer on that house.
Pick your hard.
Pick your hard. That's right. It's all hard. Pick your hard. Choose your hard, right?
Choose your hard.
Let's move on because now we're talking about home sales. We got to talk about home sales. Home sales rose in July for the first time in 5 months. This is from CNBC. This is interesting because, so you have Lawrence Yun, who is the NAR chief economist, okay? So National Association Realtor, who, by the way, August had this massive change with the rules to buyer's agents and how you can not advertise the commission that's offered on the sale inside MLS and all the other associated rule changes that have happened. He's saying that consumers are seeing more choices and affordability is improving. Do you think that it's improving enough and that they're getting enough choices?
More choices I have seen.
Okay.
Affordability, not so much.
Okay.
The reason being is because I feel that the houses that do get priced lower automatically get a high influx of people that want to go see it.
Sure.
Therefore, running up the price again because they say, hey, that's the lowest price in this neighborhood. Everything else is a little bit higher. But what ends up happening is that same demand brings the house to what it was, at market price.
Yeah.
So I don't think necessarily it's, more affordable, but you are seeing more options. Like I had a client that was only sending us a few houses, previous, maybe like back in May.
Yeah.
Now she's sending us like a list of homes that she wants to go see in the area that she's looking for. She's looking for a very specific area in Lemon Grove, La Mesa, Spring Valley, the area, the latest. So before she was only seeing a few things pop up. Now there's multiple houses that she's sending, which I find very interesting because from what we had her on a search to now, there's a lot more inventory in that specific area.
So inventory in general is up. And I'm going to quote this directly because I want to make sure it's said accurately. At the end of the month, so say at the end of the month of July 2024, there were 1.33 million homes on the market, which is an increase of 0.8% from June and 19.8% higher than 1 year ago, July 2023.
Definitely.
So I remember coming into the end of 2023 and into the beginning of 2024, it was like inventory's coming, inventory's on the way, and the reason was because rates are higher, right? So this was the argument on that side of the coin of, well, when rates go higher, inventory shows up. And now they're kind of saying, hey, rates are lower, inventory will show up. But this is...
The next time it's going to be, inventory, please just show up.
Inventory show up, yeah, just please, no matter what the reason. But this is actually living proof of that point, okay? Mortgage rates were higher. We did not see the spring and summer that I thought we were going to have as far as volume of sales were concerned. We certainly have the increase of number of homes on the market.
Definitely better than last year, just not as what we...
Which is good. And this is going to be soft/hard prediction early on the show. By the time we get to the winter of 24, we're going to look back and see all these July listings and a really high fall closing ratio.
So that's exactly all these listings what I'm in line with. I honestly, that's what I'm predicting just because of what I've been seeing in the market. I feel summer was a lot quieter than what we expected, although it was better than last year. Last year was just a mess because of rates being on the upside. But I really think that this fall and winter is going to be a lot different, and I think it's going to be like what we missed in summer and spring.
I believe that this 19.8% change from July of 23 to July 24 is also going to be representative, maybe a little bit less aggressiveness in August and even in September. I just think that because people are starting to see this chatter with the Fed, they're seeing mortgage rates change, they're like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to say it this way. The hard part is over, even though the hard part may not be over. They're going to feel like maybe the hard part's over and this inventory has to go somewhere. Because we have so much pent-up demand and we've been lacking inventory, I believe that this massive uptick of listings compared to last year are all going to get absorbed. They're all going to close and sell. You might have some fallout. Of course, there's always fallout in escrows. But I'm saying 19.8%, even if 18% of the 19% close, that's going to make the fall number for closings look way different than it was in 2023.
Yeah, because that's a huge spike up in inventory. I mean, just in this last year.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's all like kind of waterfall. Like what happened? You list the house, it gets into escrow, and it closes. So
it closes like 2-3 months later down the line, depending on.
I think August closings and September closings are going to look really high when we finally get those CoreLogic numbers and Altus Research numbers, like in November. That look back at August and September, you're going to see a representative uptick of closings because of this really high increase of listings in July. So supply of homes is right now around 4 month supply, plus or minus about a half a month, in my opinion. It's a little bit lower than it was in June. A lot of that's just been absorbed. Those aren't just cancellations. And the median price is up. So here we are once again talking about median prices up. But I also saw somewhere else that in a different time window, median price is down. So I don't know which one is actually correct. I think it's just in the time window they were surveyed to come up with this. I think in this article, it's up because it says up by 4.2% year over year. So yeah, in this article, the window they're looking back at is saying that we're up 4.2% year over year. There was a different one I was looking at. This is actually down by like 1.5%. But I'll come back to that later. So
all I have to say is market crashers try again next cycle.
Dang, dude. I did read it. I was forwarded something by a friend on Wednesday, and I have to reread it to digest the theory. The theory in writing makes sense on why one would forecast that, but there's the psychological consumer buyer element that's vastly missing from the article's argument that is driving what we're experiencing right now. Like, it doesn't make any sense to refinance right now if you already have a 3%, but circumstances are causing people to do that, right? It may not make sense to buy a house for $250,000 above its list price, but if it has a large yard and you can add 2 or 3 ADUs and build a second story and create $10,000 of cash flow, well, that's going to make up over the course of time. Mm-hmm. So some of those rationales may not seem rational to those of you watching, and it was missing broadly from this article. But when you consider those things, I understand what the article's saying.
Yeah.
Sure, impending doom ahead, impending crash, but it's like, okay, but on what leg? What leg of the table is going to fall out? Something has to fall out to cause the crash. And right now, it's not delinquencies yet. It's not defaults. We don't see an increase of, we don't see like a massive increase of foreclosures. if you're going to point at unemployment, that will eventually have to lead to that. But that has a 6, 9, 12-month life cycle. That may not be till 25 or 26 that you see any of that start happening.
And then even for the, let's say, foreclosure or, stuff like that, you could sell your house.
That was my thing. That was my thing, because we about a month or a half ago, I think we talked about,
because either way, the way you do it, you lose your job, you could sell your house if you own a house.
If you have equity, you
could still sell and walk away. And I'm sorry, you have to restart, but at least you could wash your hands and walk away.
Yeah, and then one of the nerd articles I brought, I think it was in July. It might have been in July, or maybe it was the end of June. I brought, and we were talking about the percentage of homes that are upside down, and it was like barely any. Again, that's like that thing where, like, again, I understand the shouting from the rooftop, everything's going to crash, and I understand that, but the market components aren't playing along with that theory right now.
And I feel like if you want to compare it to 2008, there was so much more holes in that boat than there is in this one. They're not comparative. This is a different boat, but we're in a different type of water that we can't control. But this boat is a different story.
That was a whole different.
And the point I'm trying to make is you can't compare it because it's just too different. There's a lot too many stuff that is going a lot different than what was happening back then. So I just feel that it doesn't even compare.
Yeah, they're not the same. I think we just need to let it rest that they're not the same. But sorry everybody. You made the point really quickly at the top of this rant. You're like, sorry haters. Sorry.
Let me know in the comments. I'll be answering comments all week.
Every single one of you in the comments. It's Brian this week, and I'm going to make him do it, actually. I'm not doing it. Okay, Brian, next we got to talk about starter homes.
Hey, you just see me. Boo!
It's just going to be a bunch of thumbs up. So, starter home tax breaks, aid for first-time home buyers, what to know about Harris's affordable housing proposal, CNBC. This one, I'm sure, is probably going to draw a lot of opinions on both sides of the aisle, for and against her plan, and for and against Trump's plan. Now, Vice President Kamala Harris, this is from the article, okay? So, Vice President Kamala Harris called for the construction of 3 million new housing units, both for rent and for sale, over the next 4 years. Other proposals include tax incentives to build more homes and down payment assistance for first-time buyers. There has already been a lot of controversy around this for a variety of reasons. I don't want to get on the political side of this. I want to talk about its potential to actually happen versus not happen. And also, I wanted to bring this up today because around this time of the year, during an election cycle year, these kind of topics come up. Part A, because they're actually important and need to be talked about and addressed. And part B, because it's something that can draw more votes. Let's just be honest.
It's one of the most sensitive subjects at a household.
And I'm not saying that this against her or for him or whatever. The point is, no matter which candidate is running, it's what is ailing the people, and they want me to fight for on their behalf. And this is one of those topics. And already you see there's bipartisan support for getting housing affordability in check and in control. There's bipartisan support for getting more inventory, having more affordable housing, bringing back the starter home, because in a lot of places it's wildly out of control. Yeah. Prices are wildly out of control. I mean, now I think 3 or 4 weeks ago we had 237 metros where the starter home is $1 million or more, and half of those are in California, where we're at. San Diego's on that list.
You should see what CoreLogic has for us.
It's not San Diego. It's like several cities in San Diego on that list. You got like Del Mar, La Jolla,
it's 20% that carries the 80.
Coronado. It's the Pareto principle. Yeah. But I don't know. So, Brian, this topic can go a lot of different ways. I don't know where you want to take this, but
I'm gonna just go in on the fact of the building of the 3 million, right? So from previous episodes, we talked about that back in the early 2000s, we were, I don't know how many millions behind on builds, right? So that was 2000, right? Now they're implying that it's going to be another 3 million that needs to be built. Well, my argument is, if we're already going to build 3 million, that's only going to put us ahead of how far the other millions that we're behind. Because I feel that if they're going to build 3 million, later on in the article it says that once the way that it's going to work is for people that paid their rent for 2 years consecutively, or first-time home buyers would be eligible for this program, for this $25,000 credit.
Right.
They said that based off all the data that they gathered, this would roughly have around 4 million borrowers that'd be eligible for this program. 3 million is what's proposed, but then we're also in a deficit for houses as it is just being built. So I'm saying, although it sounds great in theory, people that don't know how things are working or how they're actually being done on the municipality level, then you understand that the federal government doesn't have much say as what they can do with the housing inside the city. So even by allowing these tax credits to be done, it's still going to come down to the local governments to really put that money to work or bring out those programs to be able to facilitate more building, which we've seen in the past get done. Not really, but we come back to the same problem that if they're giving money away, where does that money go? To the sellers that eventually just drive prices back up.
Yeah, because you're tossing a lot of things. You're tossing a lot of items from the buffet on the plate. So let's talk. First of all, I want to make sure it's super clear. You're not like bashing that 3 million new units is a bad thing, right? Because I know it's not enough.
It's not. What I'm saying, it's a good thing, but I'm like, okay, great, but we still have way more pent-up demand.
My point is, I just don't want it to be misconstrued that you're over here bitching that 3 million isn't enough. It's plenty. I know it's not enough, but it's 3 million more than we have like right now in this day and time, this snapshot in time, having this conversation. 3 more units, that's fine. Are we going to get 3 million in a 12-month span? No, that's not going to happen. It's going to be over the course of years. I think in general, this is going to come down to like option A versus option B. Yeah. I'm not saying this is how you pick your candidate. I'm saying that both of these candidates have proposals together for how to accomplish the housing inaffordability and the lack of inventory. And I think that they are all going to require buyers to play along with builders and with municipalities that you're mentioning. The cities have to play along because, I know one of the things I read in here is you have to, it's on part of this, it's creating an incentive for builders. Okay, that is part of it. But builders still have costs and builders still have margin. So you can create an incentive for them. And then, okay, well, if the builders build it, can the people afford it? Well, then now we got to create an incentive for the people who can afford it to actually afford it and do it. Because this proposal says renters and buyers. So that means that maybe this isn't all for buyers. It could just be a bunch of renters as well. Yeah. Which again, I'm not saying people should be on the street and they shouldn't have housing. That's not my point. Don't go there. My point is that it's not just for buyers. They're going to have to create incentives for everyone involved. And that means the cities as well. Now, the other part of this that I really don't think I like is that there could be, I'm going to use the term, for lack of a better term, an eminent domain aspect of this, where a city just says, we're going to take this land because this law says that we can, and then we're going to do this thing. Now, they're broadly unpopular. Sometimes they are done just for the better good of the overall community on a longer time frame of 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, not exactly in 12 or 24. And I think that could happen because you have land that is accessible that currently is locked because of rules. If those rules are eased or eliminated, then it could unlock space and land to have development. Yeah. The real question is, are the participants involved going to let it? Here's the long point short. Over here to our east, not too far from our office, there was a piece of land that was for sale, and a conservation group bought it, but the developer is the one who was also bidding on it, and it was for 1,200 additional units. And the conservationists bought it, and so now that land is, by rule, it's locked. They're like, we're not going to build on it. Okay, well, then unless you can change the rule that a conservation group can buy it, they can. So there is mutual participation on many levels for this specific topic.
I mean, and the article goes on to say here as well, correct me if I'm wrong, but time and time again, local governments, local homeowners ignore incentives because they're so resistant to building more housing. Now, in one sense, I get it. If you're a homeowner in an area where you dearly love, you grew up, you don't want it to be more congested. But at the same time, it's like, where are we going to put all these other people? If there's land that's available, that's adequate, and we're able to utilize it, it's kind of, it sucks to say that, you're also right. But then again, we also need more space to be able to build.
Yeah, it's this hand in hand thing because they're also saying that, like right before that, they're talking about how like this is a supply and demand issue. Yeah, and we need to like generate demand, and
the demand is there.
That's not my point. I don't think we need to generate demand.
No, we don't.
I think we have supply, and we need to generate affordability. So the affordability comes. So it's not a supply versus demand issue. It's a supply versus affordability issue. Because on the math side of this, I look at what percentage of people cannot afford to buy a house because on paper our debt to income limits, our programs don't have certain thresholds that will let them go past that or whatever. That is more of the issue in our camp, I think, on the mortgage side.
You hit the nail on the head.
It it is, oh, we don't have enough people curious
I love
about
that you said that.
homeownership. Yeah, we do. We got tons of people interested in homeownership.
I love that you said that. You need to create affordability, not create demand, because we know the demand is there.
The demand's there.
And I think this program, I know that these programs are made in good faith to try to help people out. But in this instance, I don't think it's going to help people in the way that we would like to see it get help for the good of everybody, because of the fact that, it's not making it more affordable.
Well, it may or may not. That's relative to the place. I mean, that's
think
kind
it
of
makes it affordable. I think it makes you able to afford your down payment.
It can. So let's just use one example from this. Okay, let's just say you have a $25,000 down payment assistance program. Mm-hmm. Does that help you buy a starter home in California for $800,000? It may or may not.
It may or may not.
Because the affordability problem is, well, can you afford a mortgage for $800,000?
Exactly.
Or minus that $25,000? Can you afford a mortgage of $775,000? Maybe, maybe not. So you want to have a $7,000 mortgage? Doesn't matter if you have a $25,000 down payment. Now, I'm not saying it's unimportant. It's not a key component. But if you can't afford the payment after that, then it doesn't matter. So I think this is highly locational where this is going to work.
Yeah.
And if you're talking about other places where you can get a house for $250,000, well, $25,000 is 10% of that. Now you have 10% of your down payment in that place. So it might selectively be more beneficial in other areas than it is going to be in these high cost ones.
Oh yeah, that's definitely, I agree with that 100%.
You're talking about fixed number, not fixed percent, fixed number.
Yeah, I know. At least just here generally in San Diego, it wouldn't really help much. I mean, it'll help to some extent, but depending on where you're buying and what price range, it's really just going to make a dent.
Well, I mean, that $25,000 is 3% of $800,000, just roughly. Don't check my math. If you're going to do it, put it in the comments. Brian will postpone. It's Brian comment week. So on the $800,000, $25,000 is about 3%, right? So 24. So you're already just soaking that up with closing costs. So it's not down payment, it's closing costs. Now, in the case of FHA, we need 3.5% down. Okay, well, that $25,000 can go a long way towards your down payment. Maybe you could use that if your income still allows you to afford the mortgage payment with the FHA DTI.
So, and then even on the flip side, let's say somebody that can't afford it still is able to take the credit. They utilize it. It does help them. They have money that's being saved up. Now they're utilizing that as a stepping stool, and they could reap the benefit, opposed to someone that, hey, I'm able to use it either way. I can't afford it, so thank you, but it doesn't really help in this instance. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I think there's some more clarity that's needed on what we identify as a starter home. Yes. I think there needs to be some more discussion around what are the actual problems ailing people getting into the home, which is affordability. And you can't tell the marketplace you can't list your house for this high. They're going to list it for whatever the market demand is in that area. You're not going to go to a $800,000 neighborhood and be like, you have to sell that house for $500,000. You can't tell it. They're not going to do that. What's the incentive for them to do that?
And I'm just hooked on what you said, generate affordability, because I think that's literally it is the crisis of everything. And by making things more affordable, I mean, that's the problem I think should be getting tackled, not throwing more money into the system and hoping that it works, because it doesn't.
Well, it can if properly applied.
Yes.
Like, I'm not going to diss it and say this isn't, because again, go back to the beginning of this section. We're talking about we need the inventory anyways.
Yeah.
We need 3 million more units. Again, whether they're rentals or the people are buying them, we still need more units coming to the market. Builders have to be involved. The city's got to be involved, and we got to get like let's say rules loosened in areas that they're tight, and then more accessibility to land that's currently locked out for them to do those things.
So if they actually go through with this and it happens, when would you think that they actually start rolling out inventory?
I honestly, I think it depends. I really think it depends on how sweet the deal is for the developers.
Yeah.
I mean, can you loosen up some of the red tape in order to get things on track faster, permitting wise? That's part of it. I don't mean reduce standards of building. I mean, get the process done quicker. We've seen that in San Diego.
Yeah.
Case in point.
Yep.
We have pre-approved ADU floor plans and architectural drawings that if you go through that process with the city of San Diego and you use one of their pre-approved sets of drawings to build your ADU, you're fast tracked through the permit process.
And essentially, like, allocating more funds to have a department or have people that just focus on being able to make these things more accessible, make it more streamlined. I don't know. I mean, they probably are doing it. I'm not in the government like that, but I just feel that, there needs to be, we know that that's an issue and that's a bottleneck, then why don't we allocate more, help and resources towards that?
I think we can use a lot of the current municipality structure, but the incentive for the builders to be in, let's say, friendly companionship with the cities is part of what's going to happen based on where this thing gets. First of all, whether it even happens or not. Yeah. Number one. Number two, the areas in which rules are different as far as regions, even states and cities, they're all going to be different. But the application of that is going to come down to incentivizing the builders, because the demand is there already. We need to increase the affordability for people because the people will come. That's just going to happen. I wanted to make sure before we go to the next thing though that they are also saying, and again, this is wild to me, that they're saying that the the $40 billion innovation price tag is too much. Here's where Andy's going to go, that's ridiculous. $40 billion is a lot of money, first of all. That's a ton of money. You know what's a lot more than that? Being $35 trillion in debt as a country. How about that? So $40 billion is, let's say, nothing or close to nothing.
Oh, that's too expensive.
Compared to $35 trillion.
Oh, no, that's no.
Now, is $40 billion a lot for real estate? Well, it depends on what you're comparing it to. Last week, we were talking about how there's $17 trillion of equity currently in U.S. residential homes. So is $40 billion a lot compared to $17 trillion? I don't know. You make the call. Put it in the comments. Brian will reply. That's my... I understand why people are saying it's a high price tag. Yeah, of course. $40 billion is a lot of money.
But compared to what?
I'm not saying this to be double-minded, and I'm not trying to just play both sides. But like, look, if you step back from write $40 billion on the page. That's a lot of money. Okay?
Count to 1 billion. Let me know.
Count to 1 billion.
I'll meet you in the comments.
Someone's going to write a comment in like 2032. I just finished.
Yeah, you hit show more.
8 years from now. 8 years now. It's just this person commenting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. I'll get away
Hopefully
from that.
by then things will be more affordable.
So the price tag might seem high, but again, it's relative. This is so relative because look at our bills that have like healthcare costs. Look at our infrastructure spending. Look at spending for military. Look at spending for all these other programs we have. Housing is a huge problem. It's not just because it's a hot topic for the political season that I brought this up. It's not just, I know part of this for the candidates is that why they're, I'm going to talk about this and lean in this super hard as we get towards November. Of course they're going to do that. They do that about every hot topic that their voter base, almost a client base, that their voter base cares about. They're going to like spin it up and talk about that thing for months straight ad nauseum. So we might as well talk about it too, because I think there's something behind this.
Yeah.
I don't really care which candidate does this. I just care that it happens. So if Kamala Harris wins, then she needs to do this. If Trump wins, he needs to do this. We have to have a solution for housing unaffordability, and we have to have more inventory. It's going to look different. With her or with him, they're definitely not going to be the same plan, but it definitely should be deployed by some form or facet for people. Absolutely.
Generate affordability hats going on the Mortgage Hero store this week.
Yeah, watch for people saying that we're socialists in the comments. Okay. That's definitely not the case. Thank you.
No, I was thinking capitalists because we're going to sell merch.
I don't know. It's so selective, isn't it? Like you're a capitalist pig in one sentence and then you're a socialist in another. It's like, no, that's not the case. Anything else on this though? I mean, there's a lot yet to be seen because there's first of all a lot more vetting.
I think for the sake of not getting too political, we should just move on to the next
we're really too far into that at this point, but okay.
Even more political.
Yeah. So down payment assistance, opportunities for people who are first time home buyers in their family or in their generation. Also, creating new inventory. I don't know. I don't honestly know in the end how quickly these things can happen because at some point the builders are going to have to say what's in it for me. So and why do I want to do this?
No, that's
and they're gonna and if they are at the table where they get to say at some point, yeah, we'd do it if you do this. Well, there's the counteroffer. So builders might hold the keys to whether this even can happen or not.
And my question is, do you get that tax credit once the units are built out or as soon as it rolls out? Because I mean, think about it. If they start whenever it rolls out, when next president comes out, it's like, all of a sudden more competition into the inventory when there's still no demand.
Yeah,
I mean, no, not enough units.
I don't know because you can't. Again, like this goes to that. You're waging war on whether or not you're going to force people to do this or you're going to incentivize them to do it. I know. Am I going to force a builder to go do this? No, because not that they would do this, but it's like I'll just close my company then. No thanks. Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna reveal my age once again. Like there was this long time ago. There was a strike that the Hostess employees. I think it was Hostess, and like the Twinkies factory shut down, whatever. And like basically the company didn't yield themselves to what people were asking for, all the workers and all that. And they're like, okay, cool. Well, we'll just file bankruptcy then. And like everyone lost their job. They was like, oh shoot. And then you know what they did? They got bought by somebody out of bankruptcy, and they hired a whole new
workforce.
Yeah.
So I mean,
yeah, I'm just saying, like, builders aren't going to build if they don't want to. You know, you're not going to force me to go out there and swing a hammer unless I'm going to do it because, again, they're companies too. Man, now I'm going to be a building lover. Oh, that guy just loves builders. Yeah, I love having a roof over my head. Sorry. Brian, we got to close this out because people are probably getting super mad at this point. We got to talk about my nerd stuff today. This is CoreLogic coming in with U.S. Home Price Insights, August 2024. You all know I love this stuff. So quick flash on the screen. You have the current versus forecast home price index. This is for month over month. We are currently up 0.3%. The forecast is 0.3%. Year over year, we're up 4.7% on home price, and the forecast for next year is 2.3%. So it's less than this year, but it's still in positive territory, which means it's just slowed down in its rate of increase, but still increasing nonetheless. We are seeing this here locally. Obviously, this is happening at a national level. One major thing I really need to make everyone aware of that I did not know because I wasn't counting. This is the 149th consecutive month that the U.S. has seen year-over-year home price gains. That is 12 and a half years straight of month-over-month total average gain in the United States, 149 months. What were you doing 12 and a half years ago, Brian? How old were you? Tell everybody.
I think I was,
Do your age minus 12 and a half. Just do your age minus 12.
My age minus 12, I was 18.
You were 18. So 12 years ago, Brian was 18 when we started having month-over-month consecutive increases of home price. 12 and a half years ago.
I was just graduating.
12 and a half years ago, crazy. I was in my early 30s. Okay, so, I mean, 149 months is super impressive. Also, I'm going to come back to something you made a point about earlier for all the doomsday housing crashers.
Right there
They're like, oh, well, the crash is coming. I mean, yes, you know, you can't keep a good thing going for too long. I also understand that, but the rules have changed.
I could see that.
The variables have changed. Demand has changed. Inventory's changed. Rates have changed. Markets changed. Temperaments changed. Generational view and perspective on homeownership, that's also changed. And 12 and a half years ago, the people that were buying homes didn't share the same opinion that you do right now. So let's talk about it.
Morals. People lie, numbers don't.
Okay. Thank you for watching. That's a quick answer. People lie, numbers don't. Well, hold on. Wait. No, we're not going to do that.
Okay, except that one time when they revised 800,000 jobs.
Thank you for paying attention to my emails and my text messages, Brian.
Let's go.
Bureau of Labor and Statistics wrote down 818,000 more jobs than we actually had.
I walked into that one.
I know. That was a good take, man. Thank you for doing that. So people lie, numbers don't. Well, what happens when people lie about numbers? Let's be honest.
I wasn't prepared for that question. I answered question number one.
No, you're good. I get the saying. That was fun. Yes, Bureau of Labor and Statistics, 818,000 jobs stated, more stated than were actual. That's a tough pill to swallow.
I will say this. I've yet to hear CoreLogic, come up with a revision. I'm sure, they have, but I don't think it's as, crazy as that.
I mean, you'd be lying. I mean, the magnitude,
I know nothing's perfect.
The magnitude of this being falsified is like so crazy. You're talking about every public record available that has a sales price and a sales date within the search window that generates these being falsified.
My head hurts for all the data.
Yeah. Okay. So we're up 4.7 this year. We're going to be up 2.3% next year. Again, based on the region and the country part where you live, it's going to be higher than 4 in some places, lower than 4 in others. Same as the forecast for 2.3 next year. Super impressed that we had 149 consecutive months. I think we're going to have 150 next month, and that's due to continue into the end of 2024.
And regardless, I know these might seem like small numbers, but keep in mind that because inflation was still growing at 2.3, we're still basically not dropping rates. So these small numbers do play a big picture in the broad spectrum of everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Good point there. And also noteworthy as far as this data is concerned is that no state posted an annual home price decline.
Another one from our market crashers. See you guys in the comments. I highlighted that one from this one because I was like, come on now.
Well, so here's what's crazy. There's only 2 states on this map. And again, map on your screen right now. There's only 2 states on this map that had less than 1% appreciation. Only 2 out of 50. Texas and Louisiana. And those were actually surprising to me because
Yeah,
there's so many
Texas
people.
size-
So many people went
Texas
to
for
Texas.
sure,
I was
Texas for
like,
sure.
oh wow, that's crazy. How did their price increase go so slow? But I think it already hit because they were at the high. They were one of the highest when it came to 2022 and 2023.
Yeah,
so I guess now it makes sense. It's kind of leveled out. But interesting that only 2 out of 50 have leveled out.
And I mean, I think from previous shows, we had another CoreLogic report where it says that the number of houses that were underwater or, on the verge of underwater was very minimal. So,
Yeah.
I mean, just to test
It
how
makes sense.
accurate the information is,
Yeah.
like, guys, come on now.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
So I want to list these out because I think they're noteworthy and they should get their 15 minutes of fame. South Dakota, 10% increase.
go,
New
South.
Jersey, 9.3.
Official
New
establishment
Jersey
there.
in the house. Rhode Island, 9.2%. Connecticut, 8.5%. And New Hampshire, 8.2%.
There you go.
All
Good
of
job,
these, each of these top 5 above 8%. That's pretty gnarly. I mean, San Diego as a city has been more than that, but there's other parts of
We'll
California
get to that
dragging
later,
that number down.
We'll get to that in a bit.
Yeah, we'll get that in just a minute. Turn your page. So next chart on your screen, you see this is the top 10 metros change. Ooh. So what you do see here is San Diego coming in at 7.5%, only outpaced by Miami. Now, actually, well, sorry. Correction, San Diego and Las Vegas both at 7.5%.
Oh, did I miss
And
that?
then you
I
have
did see
Miami at 10%. So Miami takes the lead when it comes to largest metros.
0.3. That's ridiculous.
What's that?
By 0.3?
No. Miami's at,
Oh,
at
10,
10.
10.
At 10
I'm
at
sorry.
10. Yeah, no, you're looking at Chicago.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, that was okay. So we got Miami at 10%, both Las Vegas and San Diego at 7.5%. You got Chicago at 7.2%. Now, what's super interesting about this chart is that you have this like really steep fall off when you get to position 9 and 10. Houston and Denver, 1.7 and 1.9. So coming in the 9 and 10 spot right there at the top of at the bottom of the top 10 are in the ones. But then you have Miami, this massive outlier at 10%. I don't know what's going on in Miami, guys. So if you're from Miami, tell me what's up.
I mean, I definitely know what's going on in San Diego.
Well, San Diego's been number 2 or number 3 on this chart that we've looked at for, I want to say the last 2 years. It might be 3.
I was going to just say that.
Years.
I just put 2021 because I remember starting to see and saying, hey, we're making it on the graphs.
Yes.
Hey, we're making it in the statistics. Oh, shoot. We're leading the statistics.
And I think I mean specifically, it's been the number 2 or number 3 spot, not like number 5. It's like been number 2 or number 3, always second to somebody else.
I really feel like it's still very underrated. Like they don't know that it's this hot of a market, but the people that do transact or invest or live out here, they're like, yo, it's definitely not retirement.
Well, for some people it is. So for some people it definitely is. But I think that the continuation of the prices being where they're at is really hard to come back from. I mean, how do we look back now and go, oh, that house that's $900,000 today, that was $450 3 years ago? Like, how do you go back and go, oh, it's a $450,000 house now? Like, it's disorienting. Now, at the same time, people who live in areas that are way cheaper than what I just stated are like, what? $900,000? You're out of your mind. I'm never paying $900,000 for a house. I get it. Some people are like, $450,000? I still wouldn't pay for it at $450,000. I get that too. It's but going from $450,000 to $900,000 in like such a short window of time, it's totally disorienting.
You come to San Diego, it's like, welcome to the new $1 million homes.
Well, San Diego's on. We had several cities on that list of the 237 cities that now have $1 million starter homes.
So remember that house that went up to sale next to ours for almost $999,000?
It's
still on the market. I went to go see
it. Is?
It's still on the market.
What?
I went to go.
Wait, that was how many weeks ago? 2 or 3?
Was close to a month.
Really? Okay.
I want to say.
I feel like that was more recent.
Me too. So I toured it last week and I walked around and honestly, no discouragement to anybody's property, but I don't think it was worth $1 million.
No, not right now, but we talked about this. It's worth it once you build it out.
No, but it doesn't even have space to build anymore.
Oh, wait, they already
did
used
an addition.
it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
They did an addition.
Did I miss that? I think I missed that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so it's I want to say 4 bedrooms downstairs and they made an additional one, or 3 downstairs, 4 with the top one, made it like a master bedroom upstairs and everything. But the housing itself was very plain, not updated at all. Old appliances. I mean, it was clean. Don't get me wrong, but it definitely was not priced for the $1 million.
Wow. Okay.
I was expecting a lot. Like, oh, maybe like it's gonna
because when we talked about it, I thought there was room in the back to build an ADU.
They built an addition already. So we talked about saying that they converted the back, and I think they added a few like rooms or units. No, they added just one room.
Okay. So remember last week we were talking about how people can like increase the value of their house, and was part of it is increasing the square footage, and part of it is modernizing it. So to your point here, maybe if it's not been modernized in a decade or two, then maybe it'd be time to do that and make that price match what people see. Because I know what I'm seeing on like MLS. I see listings that people have now. It's like, oh, recently remodeled and at $900,000, $950,000, $1 million, and it's got like the nice gold fixture, brand new countertop, gray paint. It's got the new flooring in. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. That person took that and brought it up to current.
If it would have had that done, I would have been like, okay, cool. It makes sense.
It makes sense.
It's up to it's but
so it doesn't make sense because it still needs all that.
It needs all that, and you still have that extra square footage addition, which I feel that's why they went with that price point.
Now, interestingly enough, I'm going to tie this into something else we've talked about before. This could potentially be one of those listings that they end up taking a price cut. And you see those headlines go, oh, price cuts increasing across the nation. And they go from $9.99 to like $9.85. I'm like, okay.
Price improvement.
Right. So from a percentage perspective, that's like not very much at all.
But psychological.
It's psychological that it's a price cut, but it's not like a 10% price cut. You're not going from $9.90 to $9.10 or whatever. So be on your toes when you see things like that. Really read the fine print. Okay, back to home price index really quick, Brian, to kind of wrap this thing up. I think that this is indicative of, first of all, having no states have a negative growth is impressive. And also, again, it shows kind of what's happening as far as demand's concerned, even despite mortgage rates being where they are. And the fact that these top 10 municipalities are just so far ahead of the average is a lot. Every one of these, except for 9 and 10, are at or above the average home price appreciation over the last 12 months. So
do what you will with that information.
Yeah, go nerd out with your friends in the comments.
Let me know
forward
in the
to somebody else.
I will see you later.
Yeah, Brian, let's go ahead and wrap this up. What was the favorite part of your show today?
Honestly, my favorite one was the first article. It had so much to take from. It had a really detailed broken down version of what everything needs to be done in order to put yourself in a good position to be able to buy. But honestly, it was just straightforward. There was no sugarcoating. You're gonna honestly see a lot of that happen and come true. So like I said, do what you will with that information. Prepare, get ready, and stay ready.
All right. My favorite part of the show today is not CoreLogic. Boom, boom. It's not. It's actually the CNBC article about the tax break, starter homes, first-time homebuyer stuff, and what the politicians might do.
Definitely not done talking about that one.
I think that one's going to come back up. We have several weeks still running up to the election in November that I'm pretty sure we're going to get maybe some more details and have to do this again and kind of talk about what that is. And then, of course, depending on whichever candidate wins, whatever plan gets rolled out, that we're going to have to come full circle and hit this at the end of 24 and beginning of 25 probably to actually fully vet whatever ideas are going to get deployed. So that one was fascinating to me because I think there's just a lot more behind that.
Yeah.
And this is our initial conversation, so I'm sure that even in the comments there's people who are going to say, oh, well, did you think about this? And how come you didn't mention that? There's probably a dozen things we didn't think of, just because this specific topic has so many different layers to it that I'm pretty certain there's going to be a lot more. And we're missing Will.
Yeah.
So we're missing his whole perspective too, because he's going to come at it from the owner perspective, plus the investor, plus the mortgage business owner. Like there's like a trifecta kind of opinion seat holder here. So that I think that's more to come on that. That was fascinating to me today. Thanks for dealing with me while I rant. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you, Andy.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for watching the Mortgage Heroes Weekly podcast. It's been wonderful once again doing this with you guys every single week. And if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, forward it to someone who needs to win in mortgage and in real estate. We want to help you succeed financially. So let us know how we can continue helping you. And we are going to be announcing in September more thoroughly our launch into all states across the country. I think there's only a couple, like 2 or 3, maybe 3 left that we're not in, but we're going to be in 47. We're already in 47 of the 50. I think we're going to get to the 50. We'll see about that, but more on that later. So if you are in a state outside California and you need help, go ahead and drop a comment in the comment box and we'll be ready to assist you in whatever you need purchasing or refinancing in real estate. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you again next week.
Bye, guys.